Phyllisile moved through Sunridge City every morning with tired eyes but a strong heart. She woke before sunrise, prepared a small breakfast for her younger sister, and hurried to the cafe where she worked long shifts just to keep their tiny home running. Even though her pockets were always empty and her worries were many, she treated every customer with gentle respect. People loved her warm smile, the way she listened without judgment, and how she never complained about her struggles. Many workers whispered that life had been unfair to her, but she never allowed sadness to change her character. She carried herself with quiet dignity, believing that kindness was the only thing she truly owned, and the only thing no one could ever take away. At the cafe, she moved from table to table, serving meals while thinking about how she would stretch her small salary to buy her sister's school shoes. Some days she skipped lunch so her sister could eat a full dinner. She hid her sacrifices behind a cheerful face, hoping no one noticed how hard things were for her. Customers often felt comforted just by seeing her, because she treated everyone with equal care, whether rich or poor. Even when rude customers snapped at her, she answered softly and moved on, not letting negativity settle in her heart. People trusted her because she never lied, never took shortcuts, and never tried to impress anyone. Her co-workers joked that she was too honest for this world, but she simply believed that doing the right thing mattered, even when no one was watching. Every night she counted her tips carefully, setting aside a small amount for rent and the rest for her sister's needs. She dreamed of a future where her sister would study without fear, find opportunities she never had, and rise out of the poverty that held them down. Phyllisile carried hope like a quiet flame, small, but steady. She believed that good things come slowly, and only to people who walk in truth. She had no idea that her life was about to change forever, or that her simple honesty would place her in front of someone who had the power to rewrite her entire future. At that moment, she was just a young woman doing her best, unaware that destiny had already started moving toward her, quietly, like a gentle wind before a storm. A mysterious man walked into the cafe quietly, wearing plain clothes that made him look like any other tired customer. He sat near the window, ordered a simple cup of tea, and kept checking his phone as if he was waiting for something important. Phyllisile noticed how restless he seemed, tapping his fingers on the table, and looking around every few seconds. When his phone finally rang, he answered immediately, stood up in a hurry, and rushed outside as if the call demanded his full attention. He didn't even finish his tea. In his rush, he didn't realize he had left something behind, something that could change anyone's life. After he disappeared into the busy street, Phyllisile continued her routine. She cleared used dishes, wiped down surfaces, and made sure every corner looked neat for the next customer. When she reached the table by the window, she froze. There, resting on the seat, was a thick brown wallet, heavy, expensive-looking, and clearly important. She picked it up carefully, her heart beating faster. She knew immediately it belonged to the man who had just run out, but he had vanished so quickly she had no idea where he went. She held the wallet in both hands, unsure what to do. The cafe was noisy around her, but everything felt quiet in her mind. She wondered how someone could forget something so valuable. For a moment, she hoped he would come back running through the door, but the minutes passed in silence. She looked toward the street, hoping to spot him, but he was nowhere. Her fingers brushed over the worn edges of the wallet, and she felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. Most people would have simply slipped it into their pocket and walked away. After all, no one saw him leave it. No one knew she had found it. But Phyllisile wasn't like most people. She believed every choice a person makes becomes part of who they are. She took a slow breath, knowing this was not something she could ignore. She kept looking toward the entrance, wishing he would return, but deep down she understood she would have to find him herself. As she stood there, holding a stranger's forgotten belongings, she had no idea that this single moment, this quiet discovery, was the beginning of a journey that would lead her far away from the life she knew. Phyllisile stood behind the counter, holding the wallet with both hands, unsure whether she should open it or simply wait for the owner to return. After a moment of hesitation, she slowly unzipped it, expecting to find a few notes and maybe a bank card. But the sight in front of her made her breath catch. Inside were several platinum cards, an identification card with a clear photo of the mysterious man, and thick bundles of cash neatly arranged. She had never seen so much money so close before. Her fingers trembled slightly as she closed the wallet again, afraid the bills might fall out. For a moment, her mind went blank. Why would someone with so much wealth dress so simply? And how could he forget something that important? Her friend, who worked the afternoon shift, walked over and saw her worried expression. When Thulasile quietly explained what she found, her friend's first reaction was disbelief. She asked to see the wallet herself, and when she did, her eyes widened. She whispered excitedly that this could be a blessing, that maybe life was finally offering Thulasile a chance to escape her struggles. She told her to take the money and not say a word to anyone, promising no one would ever find out. The suggestion hung in the air like a dangerous temptation. For a brief moment, Thulasile felt the weight of her own hardships press down on her. Rent was due in a week. Her sister needed school supplies. She had worked long hours for years and still couldn't break free from poverty. Anyone else might have grabbed the opportunity without thinking. But something inside her pushed back. She looked at the wallet again, then at her friend, and shook her head slowly. In a soft, steady voice, she whispered words she believed with her whole heart. She said that anything taken unfairly would never bring true comfort, and that using someone else's belongings for personal gain would only bring guilt. She knew she could not live with that. Her friend tried to convince her again, but Thulasile stood firm, holding the wallet close as if protecting it from the world. She decided then and there that she would do everything she could to return it, even if it took days. She didn't realize it yet, but the choice she made in that moment would open doors she never imagined. Thulasile stepped out of the cafe with the wallet safely tucked in her bag, her heart beating fast as she began her search. She didn't know his name, didn't know where he worked, and didn't even know which direction he had run. All she had was the photograph on the identification card, and a strong belief that doing the right thing mattered. She moved through the busy streets of Sunridge City, stopping at every corner, and showing the picture to strangers. Some people barely glanced at it before shaking their heads. Others looked closely but still had no idea who he was. Still, she kept walking, refusing to give up. She visited bus stations where crowds rushed in and out of long-distance buses. She held up the ID and asked every driver, "Have you seen this man?" Most replied politely. Some didn't bother answering. The noise of engines and shouting passengers made it even harder, but she stayed patient. When she found no luck there, she headed toward the taxi stands. She approached one taxi driver after another, repeating the same question, hoping someone would recognize the face. A few drivers joked that she looked like a detective. Others simply shrugged, but no one knew him. The sun grew hotter as she walked further. Her feet began to ache, but she still didn't stop. She went inside busy shopping malls where hundreds of people moved in different directions. She approached shopkeepers, security guards, and cleaners, showing them the picture and asking if they had seen him earlier. A few took the card in their hands and studied it carefully before returning it with an apologetic smile. The answer was always the same: no one knew him. Every rejection made her feel a little more tired, but she refused to let frustration win. She kept reminding herself why she was doing this. She believed that if something didn't belong to her, it must be returned, no matter how hard the journey became. People passing by stared at her curiously, wondering why she was so determined. Some even advised her to give up and hand it to the police, but Thulasile shook her head each time. She wanted to return it personally, to look him in the eyes and tell him she kept his belongings safe. As the day went on, she walked from one crowded place to another, hoping the universe would guide her to the right person. Little did she know she was getting closer to the truth, far closer than she imagined. Thulasile stood outside a small electronics shop, tired from hours of walking and asking the same question again and again. She showed the picture to the shopkeeper, expecting another confused look. But this time something changed. The man behind the counter leaned forward, his eyes widening as he looked closely at the ID. He asked her to show it again, just to be sure. When she held it up, he let out a low whistle and nodded slowly, as if he couldn't believe what he was seeing. Thulasile felt her heart jump, sensing that he finally knew something. The shopkeeper pointed at the photograph and told her that the man was Cabello Motley. The name meant nothing to her at first. She blinked in confusion, waiting for him to explain. And when he did, the truth hit her like a wave. He said Cabello was the hidden billionaire of Sunridge City, a man who kept his identity low profile despite owning major companies across the region. People rarely saw him in public, and when they did, he dressed simply so no one recognized him. The shopkeeper spoke with excitement, as if he had just revealed the biggest secret in town. Phyllis felt her legs weaken. The wallet suddenly felt heavier in her bag. She had spent the entire day searching for someone she thought was just an ordinary customer, who forgot his things. She never imagined she had been serving tea to a man whose name carried so much power. Her mouth went dry as she realized she had been holding something extremely valuable, without even knowing the importance behind it. The thought that she could have walked away with it made her shiver. The shopkeeper kept talking about how people rarely got close to Cabello, how he was known for staying out of public attention, and how unbelievably lucky she was to have met him. But Phyllis barely heard the rest. Her mind was spinning. She thought about her simple life, her struggles, her tiny home, and how she had unknowingly crossed paths with someone whose world was completely different from hers. She wondered why someone so wealthy would come to a small cafe dressed like anyone else. As she stood there, trying to process everything, she knew one thing for sure. This discovery changed everything. She no longer felt she was just returning a lost item. She was about to step into a world she never expected to touch. Phyllis stood in front of the tall glass building that stretched into the sky like it touched the clouds. She had never been near a place so expensive looking in her entire life. The entrance was guarded by uniformed men who looked strict and serious. She held her bag tightly, feeling small and out of place, but she took a deep breath and walked toward the doors. Before she could step inside, the guards stopped her immediately. They asked why she was there, their eyes scanning her simple clothes with clear suspicion. She tried to explain that she needed to return something important, but they didn't believe her. They thought she was just another person trying to get inside without permission. One of the guards asked her to leave, but Phyllis refused. She took out the wallet and held it up for them to see. The moment the sun hit the brown leather, it gleamed in a way that made the guards pause. They exchanged looks, suddenly alert, and one of them quickly stepped inside the building to check. Phyllis waited nervously, her hands shaking slightly as she kept the wallet close to her chest. She wondered if they would arrest her, accuse her, or simply send her away without even letting her explain. Then everything changed in seconds. Through the glass doors, she saw the mysterious man, the one she had spent the entire day looking for, rushing down the stairs with surprising speed. He came straight toward her, his eyes glued to the wallet in her hands. The guard stepped aside immediately as he approached. When he reached her, he didn't speak at first. He just stared at the wallet as if he couldn't believe it was truly there. His expression turned from shock to relief, and then to something deeper, almost admiration. Finally, he looked at her and said in a quiet but stunned voice that no one had ever returned something of such huge importance to him before. He admitted that people had tried to steal from him many times, and he had stopped trusting strangers. But seeing her standing there, holding his belongings with such honesty, left him speechless. For a moment, the world around them felt completely still. Phyllis realized she had done something far bigger than she ever imagined. She wasn't just returning a lost item. She had proven her character in front of a man whose life was surrounded by power, wealth, and caution. Phyllis stood in front of him, still unsure why he looked at her with such deep respect. She thought he was simply grateful to have his belongings back, but there was far more behind his reaction than she could imagine. What she didn't know was that the entire situation had not been an accident at all. Cabello had walked into the cafe that morning with a plan. He had been searching for someone genuine, someone whose heart was untouched by greed, someone who would choose what was right even when no one was watching. He needed a person like that for a new humanitarian project he was planning, one that required trust, honesty, and compassion. Cabello had visited many places before, quietly observing people to see how they behaved in everyday life. He had seen many pretend to be kind, but their actions failed when faced with temptation. So he tested people in small ways. Leaving the wallet behind was one of those tests. It was risky, but he wanted to see how a random stranger would respond when they found something valuable. When he left the cafe, he watched from a distance, curious to see what Phyllis would do. Instead of slipping the wallet into her pocket or hiding it away, he saw her look around immediately, panic in her eyes as she searched for the owner. He saw her reject her friend's suggestions and choose honesty over need. Every moment proved more clearly that she was different. While Philocyle walked around the city, exhausted and determined, he followed her movements through people who recognized him and security teams he had quietly placed around. He watched her visit crowded areas and ask strangers for help, refusing to quit even when no one gave her answers. He saw her tired steps but also her strong spirit. He admired how she protected the wallet like it was something sacred, even though she was living in poverty herself. For him, this was the true measure of character. Not money, not status, but choices made in silence. When she finally reached his headquarters, he already knew she had passed every part of the test without even realizing it. She had shown more integrity than many people he worked with. As he stood in front of her, he felt sure he had found the right person. Someone whose heart matched the values he wanted for his project. Philocyle had no idea that her honesty had opened a door into a world far bigger than anything she had ever dreamed. The next morning, the cafe felt like any other busy day. Customers came in for breakfast, cups clattered, and the smell of fresh bread filled the air. Philocyle moved quickly between tables, trying to focus on her work, though her mind kept replaying yesterday's events. She still couldn't believe she had met someone so important. She didn't expect to see him again, so she pushed the memory aside and kept serving customers with her usual warm smile. Then the door opened, and the entire cafe fell quiet. Cabello walked in, not dressed like a billionaire, but in the same simple clothes he wore the day before. Yet this time everyone sensed something different about him. A quiet confidence, a strong presence. Staff members exchanged surprised looks, wondering why such an important man had returned to their small place. Philocyle froze when she saw him approaching. Her heart began beating fast, and she wiped her hands nervously on her apron, unsure how to greet him. Cabello stopped right in front of her, looking at her with a gentle smile. He didn't waste time with small talk. Instead, he spoke clearly, his voice calm but full of meaning. He told her that her kindness had touched him deeply, and he wanted to do something life-changing for her. Then he told her his decision. He wanted to support her education fully, make sure her younger sister never struggled with school fees again, and offer her a position in his foundation where honest people were needed the most. His words felt unreal, like something out of a dream she never dared to dream. For a moment, the whole cafe went silent, almost as if time had stopped. The staff stared with wide eyes, unable to believe what they were hearing. Some nearly dropped the trays in their hands. No employee had ever received such an offer, not even close. Customers who overheard the conversation turned their heads in shock, whispering to each other. Everyone knew this was not something that happened in real life. Philocyle felt tears gather in her eyes. She tried to speak but her voice cracked, overwhelmed by emotions she couldn't hide. She had spent years working long hours, fighting to survive, and now someone was offering her a new future with a single sentence. Cabello assured her the offer was real, and that she deserved every part of it. In that moment, the little cafe witnessed a miracle, one born not from luck, but from the power of honesty. Word spread quickly through the cafe about Cabello's visit, and the incredible offer he had made to Philocyle. At first, everyone was in awe, whispering and exchanging glances, but admiration soon turned into envy for some of her co-workers. They couldn't believe that someone so ordinary, someone who had always been quiet and hardworking, was suddenly being rewarded in a way they had only dreamed of. Their jealousy grew like fire, and some of them began to question her intentions, spreading rumors that she must have somehow taken the wallet for attention or to gain favor. Philocyle felt uneasy as she overheard snippets of conversations. She knew her integrity was strong, but hearing her honesty being questioned hurt more than she expected. She tried to ignore the whispers, focusing on her work and the thought of the bright future now within her reach. But the accusations didn't stop. They grew louder, and soon even customers began to notice the tension among the staff. Philocyle kept her head down, hoping reason would win, but inside a small knot of worry twisted in her chest. Cabello, however, had already anticipated that jealousy might arise. He didn't wait for the rumors to grow further. That afternoon, he returned to the cafe with a calm but firm expression. He asked to speak to everyone in front of the staff and customers. Once the crowd had gathered, he connected to the cafe's CCTV system. The video played, showing every detail of the previous day. The moment the wallet was left behind, Philocyle picking it up, and her tireless search through the city to find him. Every step of her honesty was clearly captured. The images left no room for doubt. He looked around at the skeptical faces and spoke firmly, defending her character in front of everyone. He praised her for choosing the right path, even when temptation was in front of her. He explained how rare it was to find someone so genuine in a world where many think only of themselves. The co-workers who tried to accuse her felt their shame instantly, unable to deny the evidence. Their whispers turned to silence, and a respectful awe took their place. Phyllis felt a wave of relief wash over her. The truth was visible for all to see, and her reputation remained untarnished. The experience not only reinforced her belief in honesty, but also taught everyone watching that integrity, even in the smallest acts, can earn the highest respect. In that moment, she realized that her actions had not just changed her life, they had reminded others that doing the right thing always matters. Phyllis stepped into her new role with a mix of excitement and determination. Becoming the Director of Community Development in Cabela's Foundation was more than just a job. It was a chance to make a real difference in people's lives. She spent her days planning programs to help underprivileged families, organizing projects to improve schools, and ensuring that communities received the support they desperately needed. Her energy and honesty quickly earned respect from everyone in the foundation. She was no longer the quiet waitress from a small cafe. She had become a leader whose decisions impacted countless lives. Every task she handled reminded her why she had chosen the right path when she found the wallet. Her younger sister's life changed just as dramatically. Thanks to Cabela's scholarship, she could now attend a top school without worrying about fees, uniforms, or supplies. For the first time, she felt the freedom to focus on learning, dreaming big, and imagining a future beyond the limits that once confined them. Phyllis watched her sister walk to school with a bright smile every morning, feeling a sense of relief and pride she had never known before. Years of struggle and sacrifice suddenly seemed worth it, knowing that their hard work and honesty had created such opportunities. Back at the cafe, the owner often spoke of her with admiration to customers and staff alike. He told everyone proudly, "She left poor, but not because she stole, because she was honest." His words carried weight, reminding everyone that integrity mattered more than wealth. People who had once doubted her now looked at her with respect. Even in a world where shortcuts and dishonesty often seemed to pay off, Phyllis had proven that doing the right thing brought rewards far greater than money could ever offer. Her story became an inspiration in the neighborhood, a living example of how honesty can open doors no one imagined. Phyllis herself never forgot her roots. Despite her new position and improved life, she remained humble, approachable, and kind. She continued to visit the cafe, greet her old co-workers, and support the people who had once helped her in small ways. Every success reminded her that real value comes from character, not possessions. In the end, her journey showed that honesty is not just a moral choice. It is a force that transforms lives. The path she had taken, guided by integrity, opened doors to opportunities that money alone could never unlock, proving that truth and goodness always find a way to shine. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed Phyllis's story, don't forget to like, share, and comment your thoughts below. Subscribe to our channel for more amazing African tales that inspire and teach valuable lessons. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a story that could change your day.